All right, Mr. Kritzer, thank you for joining us this afternoon and spending a little time with us. As you know, we are in the process of doing a little feature story on Charlotte County schools. And in the process, we are interviewing a number of key administrators at the school, along with some students and other employees as well. And we'll certainly use the information that we gather here as part of a larger story on the school division. But we'll just start with a simple question. What is your educational background, and how has it prepared you for the job that you are now doing?
I always like to tell people that education is kind of the family business for me. My father is in the central office in Craig County. My mother, stepmother, grandfathers were all educators. So I feel like I kind of simply went into the family business. Started out at Roanoke College as an English major with a math minor and worked from there. Have always been in the coaching arena, in the teaching arena, starting out while I was at Roanoke College, working as a coach in a variety of different schools and locations while I was doing my undergrad work. Went from there to work in Allegheny County, working with elementary special ed students and coaching. And then went to North Carolina to work 2 years as a math teacher at Naniel High School in Nags Head, North Carolina. From there, I moved back to Virginia, working in Stanton City Schools as a middle school math teacher, and then at Buffalo Gap High School as a high school English and math teacher. And then, obviously, I've moved here to Randolph Henry High School to work in Charlotte County. One of the things that I think has been unique about my position is that I've been afforded the opportunity to work at all three levels of education. I spent a year working in elementary school, I spent a year working in middle school, and I spent several years working in the high school environment. One of the other things that's interesting about my educational background is that I spent 9 of those years as a roaming teacher. So I've had the opportunity to do what amounts to a daily in-service on teacher observation, and to get to see literally dozens of different teachers teach and to glean from their knowledge. So how that helps me in my position now, in addition to having that variety of background in terms of levels, it also gives me a variety of background in terms of content. So I'm able to sit down and have a conversation, a clear, coherent conversation about instruction with a chemistry teacher, and to turn around and have a conversation with a Spanish teacher or a VOTEC teacher from a basis of first-hand knowledge, having seen that firsthand, even though those weren't my core subjects.
Okay, I want to get back to the opportunity you had to work in Nags Head.
Yes, sir.
Talk to me a little bit about that. Did you live at the beach?
I lived a mile from the beach, about halfway down the oceanfront in Kitty Hawk, and taught at Naniel High School, which at the time was the only high school at the beach. And the interesting thing, when I went there, I was kind of expecting it to be kind of a Fast Times at Ridgemont High kind of environment, kids carrying surfboards around school and things of that nature. One of the interesting things was that it was one of the best high schools in the state of North Carolina academically. To give you an example, my last year there, we had 24 kids take the AP Calculus exam, which is one of the toughest AP classes that you can take. Of those, we had 24 take it, 22 got 4s, 1 got a 3, and 1 kid got a 2, and he had mono for 6 months. So it was a very exceptional educational experience.
Great. I would have thought like you that they would have been so anxious to get to the beach that they would not have been so committed to their educational development. What's your philosophy of education?
I tell students who come in my office all the time, I point to the 2 degrees on my wall, and I explain to them that those 2 degrees don't necessarily make me any better or worse of a person. I've known plenty of educated people in my life who I wouldn't say were good people. And on the flip side, when I was at Roanoke College, probably the most educated person that I felt in terms of world education and being well-rounded, kind of what you would call a Renaissance man, was the groundskeeper, who wasn't a doctor, wasn't teaching any classes, but he was the guy who the students on campus sought out at dinner times to ask questions on, advice, and so on. And so I point out to them that education isn't so much about making you a better or worse person. What it primarily does is it gives you choices, it gives you opportunities that you may not otherwise have. And again, I point to them to the idea that there are plenty of exceptional educators in our school division who will not be administrators, not because they don't have the capability and not because they couldn't do possibly a better job than I did, but because they don't have the degree. And so by getting that degree and getting that expanded knowledge, they give themselves opportunities to do things that they otherwise couldn't do. And in my case, one of the things that's given me the opportunity to do is to expand my circle of influence. As I tell people all the time, I got into this business as a means to help people and to serve. And obviously, if you want to serve, then the next logical step is to say that I want to serve as many people as possible. So in the classroom, with my bachelor's degree, I was able to reach 120 students a year. Now I have the opportunity to exercise influence over 650. And by expanding my knowledge and expanding my educational background, I've gained that opportunity.
Okay. So currently you're serving as an assistant principal.
Yes, sir.
Do you enjoy that role, assistant principal role?
I do, very much.
Okay, and what is it about you as an individual that you bring to the role of assistant principal?
I think the primary thing that I try to bring to the role of assistant principal, and I'll be honest with you, when I first came to the role as assistant principal, it took me a period of time to get my head around what exactly my function was and how I hope to benefit people in this role. That's obviously an easy answer when you're a classroom teacher. It's a little more straightforward. But there's a vision and a conception. I want to say misconception because it rings true in some areas of an assistant principal strictly as a manager and a disciplinarian. What I hope that I bring to the position is an air of communication and collaboration. I feel like my primary role is to serve as a collaborator, counselor, and facilitator for the three most important groups that we have in the school. As a teacher, it was my job to teach the students. But as an assistant principal, I'm charged with teaching the students, teaching the teachers, and one of the roles that I've found kind of emerging that I didn't really expect when I came into this, I find myself teaching the parents. And it was a very profound moment in my life, being a young administrator, when I had a parent who was easily 10 years older than me, coming off as asking me advice, someone who doesn't have children, on how to work with their child. And it struck me that for her, this is her first time to do this. So she doesn't know any more about this than I do, and in that context, I'm probably even more of an expert than she is on raising a child. And so I get the opportunity to take the knowledge that I see on a daily basis and the experiences that I have and try to help the parents as well kind of navigate what it is to raise a teenager.
How do you describe yourself as a leader?
I think if I had to describe myself in 2 words, I would like to describe myself as being collaborative. I like to think, and I feel most comfortable in situations where I am a facilitator and part of a team that's working toward a common goal. Obviously, there are situations and times when somebody has to step up and take a more authoritative role, but I try to reserve that for situations when it's absolutely necessary. if at all possible, I like to create a collaborative atmosphere where we're all working together, and at the end of the day, we feel like we've all contributed to whatever success, or in some situations, failure that we've had.
How do you think your teachers would describe you as a leader?
Am I allowed to say that on camera?
Sure. We can edit out anything that's inappropriate.
Again, I would hope that they would use the same term. One of the things that I've attempted to do since I've been here is to have a lot of conversations, to bring the people into the conversation. I'm not big on directive. I'm not big on dictating instructions. I feel that I'm able to empower teachers more when we work collaboratively, when we have those discussions. I'm able to bring them to the problem as part of the solution. And I feel like one of the things that I feel is a testament to that is, in the short time that I've been here, I feel that teachers feel comfortable coming in my office. And more and more through the years, in the 7 years that I've been here, I feel like I'm getting a larger volume of teachers coming in and saying, can you help me with this? How did you feel about this? Or simply being able to come in and say, I don't like how this went. Let's talk this out.
So how do you think your students would describe you as a leader?
I think the best compliment that I've gotten from the students, and it's a secondhand compliment, but when I had a mother of a student who was one of what we call our frequent flyers, students who spent a lot of time getting to know myself and the other assistant principal. And so for me to get this compliment from this person meant a lot. And their assessment was that I was fair but firm. And I think in the role that I play, I think it's important because part of my job is to help these students figure out what the parameters are in the world. We're helping them, again, I'm as much a teacher now for students as I was when I was in the classroom. The difference is, when I was in the classroom, I was teaching English and math. Now I'm teaching life lessons and oral parameters.
And then one last question along this line. How would your mother describe you as a leader?
How would my mother? That's an excellent question. My mother, my mother is actually a teacher now, but she teaches for the prison system and has, as such, has had the opportunity to be relatively autonomous for 25 years. She's very good at what she does. And for the most part, she runs a one-room schoolhouse with very few people at the top of her. As a public education teacher, she did not have that opportunity and did not feel good about the experiences she had having administrators constantly checking in on her. I think because part of my professionalism and part of what I feel strongly about is that I keep a very professional attitude. I don't talk to people about situations at school. You kind of using the guideline, don't say anything that you would want somebody else to repeat. So when I have situations, I come home and I'll use my mother as a sounding board. So she gets to hear a good bit of the negative, of the micromanaging and the situations that I have to deal with in situations where I do have to be authoritative. So I think she has an impression that possibly I use that tactic a little more than I do. So I think that's probably how she may describe me although I don't think it's a fair assessment of what I do on a day-to-day